I first heard your story decades ago. I told you last night when we went out to dinner. I've seen pretty much every interview you've ever given. I've followed the story incredibly closely.
So should we go through this checklist here and see which of these I can take off?
Yeah.
Aliens in Roswell.
Never said that. In fact, have a joke goofing on it on my comedy special from 1999. First heard your story decades ago. I've followed the story incredibly closely. But everybody that I've talked to that has ever told me a story about being taken aboard a craft or they're fucking crazy. That's the one thing they all share. I talked to a woman that was very convincing that told me she had a Bigfoot sighting. Because everybody that I know that believes in Bigfoot, I'm always like, all right. Duncan and I actually went to the Pacific Northwest, and we went to hang out with like real Bigfoot experts.
You mean con artist?
I was convinced that
Really?
Bigfoot was real.
What's wrong with you?
Real.
What's wrong with you?
Because everybody that I know that believes in Bigfoot, I'm always like, all right. Like, at what point in time did you say, hey, this doesn't even seem like it's from this planet?
The reactor working, when it was running, it produced a gravitational field of its own.
According to the general theory of relativity, there are no gravitational fields.
Did they have any understanding about what could possibly create this effect?
I don't think anybody really knew anything. They could just watch what was going on and make note of it.
What is gravity about that?
Barry said, go ahead, try and touch the sphere, and I couldn't. It pushed my hands away.
You can't touch it.
Right.
What is gravity about that?
You can't get them together. The closer you put them, the more they push. But
and you felt that physically with
my
your hand?
Yeah. Now there's nothing.
What is gravity about that?
Is this some kind of test? Well,
the concept of gravity to most people is gravity is bringing something towards it.
Right. Well, I guess you would say it's anti-gravity.
You can't touch it.
Right.
What is gravity about that?
It's anti-gravity.
Well, where's the evidence?
Well, I don't know. I have no way of verifying that.
They never let you ask questions.
The information that pertained directly to the reactor was accurate. What I read.
In terms of how?
In terms of how it was made, what we saw, how it operated, the materials, how it.
What are you talking about?
Turned on, and what was discovered about it. I'm sorry, the migraine is really making it hard for me to think here.
Sorry. But as far as UFOs, I'm still waiting for the one guy who tells me anything that makes sense.
There was some paperwork that indicated that this was from the Zeta Reticuli star system. Now,
What?
Yeah. Now, how they obtained that, I haven't the slightest idea. But I did get a chance to look inside the craft on only one occasion. So they allowed me to go inside and look at it. Again, I forgot where the hell I am.
So you're going into this craft, and what are you thinking when you're inside of it? Like, what are you seeing?
There are no right angles anywhere. There was almost nothing that looked recognizable.
A few moments later.
Well, there are archways. There's just seats, a screen, a navigation, a computer, sensor panels. There was a large, they're not consoles, they're large rectangular objects. There are no right angles anywhere. Large rectangular objects, large rectangular objects. There are no right angles, rectangular, no right angles, rectangular, no right angles, rectangular, large rectangular objects.
You need to stop being such a cunt.
Things that people said were not true. Element 115 was one of them.
God, I keep losing my train of thought with this thing.
This element 115 was the fuel.
Yeah, it was the fuel.
Bob, I understand that you've told this story many, many times, but that's all you have is a story. All I see when I go looking for aliens is a bunch of unfuckable white dudes with stories about spaceships and
I was going to say one thing. Bob, for the last 30 years, people have just been on the attack on Bob.
What are you talking about?
I mean, this is the last thing he wanted to fucking do was have to talk.
That's not evidence.
Like, you don't need to take my word for it.
The scientists, they're seeing vehicles come through like a space in the sky.
Well, where's the evidence?
I don't know.
Believe it or not, I don't listen to UFO stories and that sort of thing, but
Who cares? Let's just make an assumption that this is true right now.
What do I do with this? What do I do with this? There's something that we don't know. There's something we don't understand. There's something that came from another world. We got it tucked away in the mountains.
I haven't the slightest idea.
I became extremely weary talking to people who are UFO believers and UFO fanatics because there's so many of them that
That's
are
a
full of shit.
data poor perspective. You just don't know
It's
yet.
probably a good idea if you shut up.
George Knapp is, he's the guy that has the contacts and tries to thread everything together.
And did this seem attractive to you, or did it seem weird?
I fell for it.
There's a lot of schizophrenics that are involved in the conspiracy world. So there's a lot of people that have real issues.
Well, I really don't want to talk about that.
What is the problem?
In some ways, I can relate to some of these people. I don't want to get myself into more trouble by admitting something. So,
when did you realize? Like, at what point in time did you say, "Hey, I can't do this anymore"?
I asked if I could go down there at the lab.
See if you're crazy.
Yeah, there was a big discovery made. I'm fucking batshit crazy in there.
Yeah.
This is one of the reasons
Yeah.
I didn't want to do the show.
I believe you. In closing, is there anything else you'd like to say?
I just want to kind of hide in the corner and do my own things.
That's it, folks. Good night.